Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
A very good evening, I'm Mahina Bongzo. We start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Moragahakam, the multi-purpose vested in the public. 9 years since the assassination of Lasantha Wickrematunge. Suspects still at large. Emergency parliamentary session to be convened on 10th January for Bond Commission report.
Today marks 9 years since the heinous assassination of senior journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge.
Lasantha worked tirelessly and fearlessly, using his pen to safeguard the people's right to information.
9 years later, why have authorities failed to hold anyone to account for Lasantha's killing?
Why are we still asking the question, who killed Lasantha?
January of 2009 dawned with a terror attack on the MTV-MBC studio complex in Depanama when armed thugs caused immense damage. Among the first to arrive at the scene following the attack on the night of the 6th of January was Lasantha Wickrematunge. Lasantha, who served as the editor-in-chief of the Sunday Leader at the time, became a well-known face to TV audiences across the country via the Newsline program telecast on the MTV-MBC network.
We must rise against these acts of terror and thuggery. This is not the first instance that such an incident has occurred. It may be that this is not the last either. Nevertheless, we are prepared to face the situation with caution. I must state clearly that all media institutions must be prepared to face this together.
Lasantha's prophecy that this would not be the last attack on the media came true a few days later when he himself became the target of an act of terror. 2 days after the attack on the MTV-MBC complex, on the morning of the 8th of January, Lasantha Wickrematunge was assassinated near the Aptidiya Model Primary School. Who killed Lasantha Wickrematunge and who ordered the killing? Does the following statement made by then National Defence spokesperson Kelly Rambukwala testify to the fact that the rulers at the time were aware of the circumstances leading to Lasantha's assassination? An extract from the Daily Mirror reads as follows. The government yesterday said it will reveal important information regarding those behind the killing of the Sunday Leader editor-in-chief Lasantha Wickrematunge and the attack on the MTV-MBC studios on February 15th, a day after the scheduled provincial council elections. Speaking at a media briefing held yesterday, Minister and Defence spokesperson Kelly Rambukwala said the government was well aware of who were behind the attacks but would not divulge any details till the said date, as investigations by the special police teams were still in progress. When questions were posed by the international media regarding Lasantha's assassination, this was the response of the authorities at the time.
Who is Lasantha Wickrematunge? He is just another person. There are so many murders in everywhere. In the whole world there are murders. Why are you asking about Lasantha? Who is Lasantha? He is somebody who was writing a tabloid.
Yeah, but you know what's been said.
I'm not concerned about that.
But you know
people are panicking. Why are people are so worried about one man? The LTT killed so many people. Why are you not asking about them? Who is Lasantha? Tell me, what's important of him?
Following a line of investigation into phone calls made from 5 phone numbers, the CID prepared to apprehend a member of military intelligence, Kandigedara Piyavansa, on suspicion of involvement in the murder. However, before the CID could act on the matter, the investigation was entrusted to the Terrorism Investigation Department, which acted to arrest both Piyavansa and the owner of the NIC through which the phone numbers had been registered. The owner of the phone numbers died in custody at the Valikara prison. Kandigedara Piyavansa was later released and a case filed against his arrest. The court determined that Piyavansa's fundamental rights had been violated through his arrest. Prior to coming into power, a key campaign slogan of the Yahapalne government was that Lasanta's killers would be brought to book.
It is at a time like this that we feel the loss of someone like Lasantha Wickrematunge. Lasantha dedicated his life to safeguard democracy and he sacrificed his life for this. The report of the Lessons Learned Commission of the government contains a proposal that there is a need to investigate and take action in the matter of all journalists who were killed or abducted. Thereby, I hope that without wasting more time, the government will at least now commence investigating the killing of Lasantha Wickrematunge.
Following the election of the current government, the investigation into Lasantha's killing was entrusted to the CID once again on the 23rd of January 2015, which led to the arrest of another member of military intelligence, Premananda Udalagama, in connection with the abduction and intimidation of Lasantha's driver. The suspect was identified in an identification parade and later released by court on bail. Meanwhile, Lasantha's body was exhumed, and following an examination it was proved that the information provided in the initial judicial medical report was false. The first judicial medical report cited gunshot wounds as the cause of death. However, after the body was exhumed, it was established that the cause of death was stabbing with a sharp object. The apparent conspiracy of secrecy to suppress information on the investigation continues to be successful. 9 years to this day, Lasantha's family and friends continue to maintain a vigil at his graveside in Boralle every year on the anniversary of his death. Almost a decade after the passing of a guardian of society who used his pen to great effect, we are still left with the question, when will Lasantha receive justice?
3 years since the birth of the Yahapalne government. 9 years since the heinous murder of the fearless Lasantha Wickrematunge. The question still remains, who murdered Lasantha Wickrematunge? Who ordered the hit on Lasantha Wickrematunge? On the 6th of January 2009, they came for us. They put claymore bombs inside the MTV MBC complex in Department Pandipitiya and they vandalized it. They destroyed it. It was an act of barbaric terrorism. Lasantha Wickrematunge, our friend, was one of the first people to come to our studio complex and denounce this crime. 48 hours later, they came for him. They attempted to silence us before they came for him. 48 hours later, they took Lasantha Wickrematunge, our friend, away from us. They yanked a fearless son of Sri Lanka away from this country. Now today, the Island newspaper published an article. I would like to quote that article to you. It says, Premier proud of hurdles overcome by the Yahapalne government. Let me read a quote from this article, which is based on a statement made by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. This is regarding Lasantha Wickrematunge's murder. We vowed then that his killers would face justice, as would the perpetrators of so many acts of violence perpetrated against media personnel in the dark days of the former regime. The government remains committed to this goal, which is an essential step in allowing this country to permanently rise out of the threat of lawlessness and rule of law. Who are we kidding? This is a typical political response. They have been making statements like this since before they came into power. But 3 years after coming into power, they have at their disposal the police. They have at their disposal the CID, the Attorney General's Department and other law enforcement agencies. Why are they still dragging their feet with regard to the murder of Lasantha Wickrematunge? Can the people be satisfied by statements like this? More importantly, can the people who make these statements satisfy themselves by making statements like this? There is a possibility that the masterminds or the killers of Lasantha Wickrematunge could be watching this very broadcast. Are you satisfied with what you have done? Why is the Yahapalne government so slow in fulfilling this promise that they used to come into power? Is it because the government is covering for a third party? Or is it because someone inside is connected to this heinous act? In the end, it remains. Lasantha was one of us, yet he was in a class of his own. Lasantha was our friend and a fierce foe of the public enemy. Lasantha was always unafraid and unbowed. He will always remain in our hearts, and he will never be forgotten.
The Moragahakanda Reservoir Project, the largest multi-purpose development project in Sri Lanka in 4 decades, was declared open today under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The release of the maiden waters of the Moragahakanda Reservoir Project was presided over by President Maithripala Sirisena today. The giant reservoir has a total capacity of 660,000 acre-feet. The project will lead to the construction of 48 new wavers for the towns and settlements under construction in Laggala and Medirigiriya. The reservoir will also have an annual freshwater fish production capacity of 3,000 tons, providing an income of 225 million rupees. The project will also add another 25 megawatts of hydropower to the national grid. With a capacity 6 times that of the Parakrama Samudra, the Moragahakanda Reservoir will provide for the irrigation of 300,000 acres of new paddy fields, providing livelihoods for 1.5 million people and clean drinking water for 300,000 people.
The national celebration to mark 40 years of Mahaveli Splendor took place under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena today. The celebrations took place close to the Polgolla Reservoir. The Mahaveli Development Project is reflective of the proud, rich history the country lays claim to in terms of irrigation.
The work on this bund is almost complete. It was originally scheduled to be completed 5 years ago. It was suggested to me by quite a few people to name the reservoir the Moragahakanda Reservoir when work had finished and were to hold the celebration. However, I rejected all suggestions for a name for the reservoir and instead opted for the name Moragahakanda. It is in this light that I asked a very senior engineer in this country, N.S. Kulasenga, to name this project.
The President also declared open the flyover at Rajagiriya, which was constructed to ease traffic congestion in the area.
We expect the traffic to flow smoothly with the opening of this flyover. In addition to constructing flyovers to ease traffic congestion, our government has started planning a light railway system. 1/6 of this railway system will commence from the Madiwala and end in the Colombo North area and will link this area as well. We are required to take these steps as this area develops and the number of vehicles increase. What I am telling now is even more important. Under the Yahapalana government, a large volume of industrialization has taken place. The tourism industry has developed, the service sector has developed, the modernization of the agriculture and fisheries sectors has commenced. In these past 2 years, a structured program has commenced. A strong export economy has commenced. Additionally, a number of avenues for our youth to earn high income has also started. With this, we hope to increase the salaries. I remember with respect a historic event during this moment. Madulu Avesoptiteru gave leadership to a revolution that took place on the 8th of January. Yesterday, the day before, several parties called me to declare open the flyover in the name of the great Thero. Therefore, I propose that we name this flyover in his name. In the 3 years that have gone by, this country has greatly benefited. This project is something that was concluded within a short time despite everything else that is taking place in the country.
The ceremony to commemorate the 119th death anniversary of the founder of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, SWRD Bandaranaike, held at the Galle Face Green, was attended by President Maithripala Sirisena. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga paid tribute to the statue first. Uma Chandra Prakash, contesting for the Colombo Municipal Council at the local government elections, attended the event.
An emergency session of Parliament will be convened on the 10th of January at 10:30 a.m. Deputy Secretary General of Parliament Neil Idawala said the session will convene at the request of the Prime Minister. He added that the Gazette notification will be printed today.
The news. The Gammat Vavin Vavata program is a journey of discovery to find the wonders of Sri Lanka's ancient hydraulic civilization. The fourth day of the second phase of this program began in Bellankadavala in the Ellangava area in Palugaswava in Anuradhapura. The Gammat team inspected a number of vavas in the area.
The day began with 3 vavas in the Bellankadavala today: the Kalaiva Mahavava, the Bulugaha Vava and the Ulpat Vava. They observed that a small T-shaped vava had been built on the edge of the Kalaiva Mahavava. This vava, known as the Bulugaha Vava, is fed by the Kalaiva Mahavava. While the water from this vava is used for a number of purposes by residents, the water still remains unsuitable for use.
We are inquiring into the cascade system that's here in Bellankadavala, and we came by a very special vava. Now this is the Kalaiva Mahavava, as you can see on my left hand side, and if you turn onto my right hand side, this is the Bulugas Vava. Now the speciality of these two vavas is the fact that they share the exact same bund. While we are investigating into this cascade system, we came across the brilliance of our ancestors and how they built technology that is in sync with nature and that lasted for generations, and people are using this technology now as well. But what we can see is that there has been no reconstruction of this vava.
The Ulpat Vava is so named because it emerges from a spring. Villagers suggest that the barriers and sluices, although functioning, are not up to standard.
According to the latest data released by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka reached an all-time high of 2,116,407 in 2017.
The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, or SLTDA, notes that the arrival figure for 2017 represents a 3.2% growth, or 65,595 more arrivals over the preceding year, when the figure crossed the 2 million mark for the first time. The authority notes that the high number of arrivals has been achieved despite serious setbacks to the tourism industry right throughout 2017, including the partial closure of the BIA, floods and a dengue epidemic. SLTDA data reveals arrivals in December grew from 224,791 in 2016 to 244,536 in 2017, reflecting an 8.8% growth rate. India continued to be the top source market with 384,628 arrivals, up 7.8%, followed by China with 268,952, down 1%, and UK 201,879, up 7.3%. However, in October last year, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce published a report which noted that over 80% of local tourism industry leaders do not trust the tourism research statistics and the country's tourism earnings figures published by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Out of 37 tourism industry leaders surveyed for the CCC's troubling numbers, can Sri Lanka's tourism sector sustain its growth report, 86% said that the tourist arrivals data were inaccurate, while 83% of them said the tourism earnings figures were inaccurate.
Certainly we want to earn money from it, but we do not want to exceed the carrying capacity of the resources, okay? Particularly the natural resources. So if we flood the place with tourists and we either scare away the wildlife or destroy the coral reefs, then you're destroying the basis for tourism. We should think of upmarket tourism as opposed to bulk tourism. So saying that the number of tourists went up from, X to 5X doesn't mean a thing. If these are tourists who hardly spend a few dollars and come and in their ignorance, break off coral reefs, the reefs, or destroy other natural habitats, we don't want that kind of tourism. Better to have a few tourists who are spending more money here and who are more educated about sustainability.
The Prime Minister's office today announced that they, together with the Ministry of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, have partnered with McKinsey & Company, a global management consulting firm, to put together Sri Lanka's first ever digital economy strategy.
According to the Prime Minister's office, McKinsey & Company have been handed an 11-week assignment with 3 phases. The first phase will include a look into Sri Lanka's current situation and its readiness to move into a digital economy. The second phase of the program will consist of designing of 3 flagship programs to kickstart the digital economy and 10 projects to establish key enablers to support the digital economy, while the third phase will look at launching these programs. The report presented at the steering committee meeting held on the 4th of January at the Policy Development Office at Temple Trees revealed that the first phase will commence on the 15th of January, with the third and final phase scheduled for an early April kickoff. The vision of the Information Communication Technology Agency, or ICTA, is to create a digitally inclusive Sri Lanka. As a result, Newsfirst spoke to the acting CEO of ICTA, Dr. Ajit Madura Peruma, to inquire into the new initiative. Dr. Madura Peruma acknowledged that he is aware of such a program, adding that the ICTA is acting in consultancy capacity and that it is not directly involved in the initiative. When inquired into how McKinsey & Company was selected for the process, Dr. Madura Peruma said he was unaware of the decision-making process and requested us to inquire in this regard from the Prime Minister and the subject Ministry Secretary.
In more local news, Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanika visited the Presidential Secretariat today, seeking a copy of the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on the issuance of Treasury bonds under the Right to Information Act.
I think our names have been mentioned in a very unjust manner. I believe this has been done targeting us and the leader of the United National Party. It is extremely unjust. Once we receive the copy, we can take action. We ask that the copy be released immediately. What does this say? The central bank is not under us. The commercial banks are not under us. So what does it say? It speaks of an 8 million rupees loan obtained by my daughter. It says that I have lied. What are the lies that have been said? They took the statement of a woman who was unrelated to this and they have left in more than what was said. I have been in politics for 25 years. You can assassinate me, but do not assassinate my character. No, President Maithripala Sirisena has not said that. It was a statement prepared by those who are around him. Do not try to create a dispute between the President and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. We want the truth to emerge victorious. We also want to catch the thieves. What happened to the MIG deal, the hedging deal, Sri Lankan Airlines and the Greek bonds? This is what we want. But they are not talking about these. I am fighting it because I say with certainty that there wasn't. Those who are in the central bank are the henchmen of Niwad Cabral, who destroyed the economy of this country over 10 to 15 years. Are they working with honesty? Growth has increased, inflation has increased, interest rates have increased. We fought to reduce this. We are engaged in gentleman politics. We do not engage in politics whereby we lose the election, come in on the list and then assassinate characters. You know this.
Meanwhile, during an event held today, the General Secretary of the United National Freedom Front, Attorney at Law Maitri Gunaratne, had this to say.
The person in charge of the central bank is none other than the Prime Minister of the country. The central bank is under the Prime Minister's portfolio. The report of the President's Commission on the central bank theft has been published. Not only did they steal, now they are trying to deceive the people. This is the extent of the distaste they have for the people. They have said that a case should be filed against Ravi Karunanika. There is no problem with that. It is good. However, who were the others who were involved? What happened to Kabir Hashim? What happened to Malik Samar Wickrama? There are 20 to 30 or 40 MPs who had hundreds of calls with Aloysius day and night. What happens to these MPs? There are some who wrote books claiming that there was no bond scam. What happens to them? All these MPs should answer to this. The President has published the report. but that is not what must be done. This report must be released to society. The people of this country need to know what is in this report and what it proposes. The JVP has said they will hold a demonstration against the bond scam on the 13th. As a party, we have reached a decision that devoid of party divides, we will work with any party that works against the bond scam.
The bond report, as it has come to be known, continues to evoke strong responses in the political arena.
The
leader of the UNP is being strangled now because of the bond scam. There are numerous charges against former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, his children and his wife. Investigations were not conducted into these. At the very least, they were not even brought to the police to record statements. They went to their home to record a statement from Shiranti Rajapaksa. This was done because of an agreement between the Prime Minister and Mahinda Rajapaksa. Based on that agreement, they will not catch the thieves. They will steal too, but by no means will they get together to catch the thieves. Even the thieves who were caught were sent home on bail. Therefore, we have no faith that this government will catch the thieves. They have renewed this talk now. Now that the government's thievery has been caught and they have been pushed against a wall, they are talking about these to cover it up.
Article 165 reads as follows. Any such public officer, judicial officer, person or holder of an office failing to take and subscribe such oath on or before such date as may be prescribed by the Prime Minister shall cease to be in service or hold office. Now look at this. Although the Prime Minister is trying to beautifully wipe his hands off the matter, the Prime Minister has been trapped for the crime of violating the Constitution. Because Arjun Mahendran testified before the Commission that he did not take the oath. Not only that, Arjun Mahendran is not a citizen of this country. He is a citizen of Singapore. Thereby, Arjun Mahendran functioned as a governor of the central bank for so long, with the Prime Minister being fully aware that he ceased to hold office as a result of not taking the oath. Remember this, by no means can the Prime Minister evade his responsibility. Finally, I would like to say, Honourable Prime Minister, your supporters built a reputation for you as a great mind of Asia, as a Mr. Clean. However, before you are branded Mr. Dirty for being the mastermind of Asia's biggest theft, respectfully resign your position and display your purity. As lawyers of this country, this is our request from the Prime Minister.
We say that the Prime Minister's report done by the 3 lawyers appointed by the Prime Minister was proven to be a bogus one. The Presidential Commission says there has been large-scale fraudulent activities. The accused is Arjuna Mahendran. The lawyers went ahead and said the exact opposite to the Parliament. Will the Prime Minister admit his fault and apologize?
Ranil Wickremesinghe said that those affected by the floods will be looked after. He comes here every 2 weeks. Don't ask why, but you all know. He still hasn't provided the compensation yet. I saw an instance where Ranil Wickremesinghe said that he will come in a helicopter and throw money. This government cannot pay compensation to those who are affected by the floods and landslides. But how about the bond scam? Why did he bring his Singaporean friend? Why did Ranil Wickremesinghe take the central bank under his purview? Ranil Wickremesinghe tried to cover this up by appointing a committee, but he couldn't do it. Addressing the Patriotic Professional Forum, former governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Niwat Cabral, rejected allegations regarding bond issuances between 2008 and 2014.
I'm categorically denying. And I think it's an outright lie in order to show a different situation from what it is. You know, in Sinhala, there is a very normal occurrence where when the pickpocket is caught, and he is running away from the people who are chasing him, the other pickpockets who are with him shout, "Horek, horek, horek." That is what is being done now. So because they are caught with their hands in the till, the same people are shouting at others, saying, "Here there are other rogues." If there were rogues, would the Auditor General have done a specific examination at the invitation or at the order of the Finance Minister, and then come out and said there was no such thing like what happened in this particular instance? So I am categorically denying.
During the Bond Commission hearings, one fact that came out is that your sister was employed at Perpetual Treasuries. Do you not see that as a conflict of interest?
She has not been at Perpetual Treasuries ever. She has been at Perpetual Holdings for 1 year, and she had also stated that she was not privy to any of these matters, that she has not taken part in any meetings at all, and she had not received a single remuneration, and that she was not even a shareholder. During the time that my sister was at Perpetual Treasuries, or at Perpetual Holdings rather, Perpetual Treasuries had bid about 16 times for bonds. Only once have they got.
The former governor also stated that he is willing to cooperate with any investigation into the matter.
Every commission that has been appointed in this country, I have voluntarily gone. If there is another commission, I will be happy to go to that. And if there is yet another commission and yet another commission and yet another commission that the Prime Minister wants to set up, please tell me, I will go for it. I will be found. My address is known. I'm not in Singapore. I will be there.
The final rites of former diplomat and renowned businessman Daivanayagam Easwaran was performed at the Boralla Public Cemetery this evening.
Devanayagam Easwaran passed away on the 6th of this month while receiving treatment at a hospital in Singapore. The remains were placed at his residence in Colombo yesterday. Several politicians and individuals paid their final respects. Devanayagam Easwaran was 75 at the time of his demise. Easwaran, who served as chairman of a renowned private organization, was awarded the civil honor of Deshabandhu by the government of Sri Lanka in 2000 services to the nation. Born on the 12th of August 1942 in India, Devanayagam Easwaran was a student of St. Benedict's College, Kottahena, before earning his in Pachappa College in Chennai. The final rites were performed this evening following religious his residence.
Well, we leave you tonight with today's illustrated news, courtesy of cartoonist Asanka Ladua Hetty. I'm Maina Bongzel.
And I'm Shed Silva. Good night.